Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host, the Pathetic Runner. No. The Lore Pathetic? Well, see, that doesn't work, though, because that's just two adjectives strung together. Although lore isn't really an adjective. So, I guess it would be pathetic lore, but that just sounds like my lore is bad. Which it is, but it's not where I'm going for. Maybe... Pathelore. Lore pathetic. Well, no, that's just stringing them together again. Let's just go with the old-fashioned way. Pathetic man. What do you think, guys? Am I live? Oh, you guys probably hate this music. I'm sorry. Right. Let me get to substantially less awesome music. Let's go with this one. Well, you don't like my music, Venters? Or I shouldn't call that my music. That sounds possessive. You don't like the music that I like? There we go. Let's put that. That just sounds awkward. Well, alright, Ventures. Go ahead and spam it up. It's cool. I accept the spam. Spam is good, right? You're right. Hang on. We need a much more terrifying. Is this the song? Yeah, here we go. Where's my random news? There it is. So, Sega is making a game called Humankind that we know nothing about, but Gamescom is this week, so I guess we'll find out there. Speaking of which, Gamescom is this week, so hopefully we'll get some news to talk about next week, or at least some news worth talking about. Some people have questioned why there's certain news items I just deliberately don't bring up. Some news items, and I'm not going to name words, some news items I don't bring up because I don't want them to get more press. I don't think they need to be signal boosted. In fact, I think they need to be the opposite of signal boosted, like signal dampened. So that's why I don't report on some things. Some things I don't report on because I don't think they're news. I've noticed that a lot of sites tend to be a little bit too desperate when it comes to news. And I want to share an example of that really quick. So for those of you not aware, I follow Formula 1. Duh. I have for years. And... we're currently at a gap. Hungary was, let's see. Hungary was the beginning of August, so like 2 weeks ago now. And the next race isn't until this coming weekend, I believe, or maybe the weekend after that. Nope, 2 weekends from now. Sorry. So it's basically a month gap in between races. Now, logically speaking, you'd think, okay, that makes sense. I don't expect a lot of news or information during a month gap in between races. And yet my Formula 1 feed has been crammed with news. Fake news. Or artificial news. Or trumped-up news. Or not news. Or drama, because drama sells, right? Just garbage. Just total garbage. I hope your new apartment turns out very well, Seraphim. Like, I'm hoping you're enjoying it. So I try pretty hard not to do that. I understand why some people do that. It's just stupid. There's a month gap. You don't need to make up news for the month gap. You know, what's funny is I know I'm not the only one who's noticed that, because several of my friends also follow Formula 1. And one of them, independent of me even mentioning anything about it, started complaining about the fake drama news through Formula 1. It's like, yeah. So that's the second reason why I'll not report on certain things. The third reason is the obvious, because it's a topic that's a little bit too controversial. And I do avoid those things in real life as well as on the show, so... you know. Like Syldeer subscribing to me, that is way too controversial. That is a hot button topic, and I'm not touching that. Like, I shouldn't have even mentioned it. Bleep. Subscribing to Bleep. And that's about as much as I can say about that safely. It's horrifying, really. By the way, good morning. Who we got here this morning? Who we got? Good morning, Juanta, Venters, Darth Tyron, Wraith, Seraphim, who's in his new apartment of awesome, hopefully, Blackfile, Jaludo, Anthony Okrax, Sinister, Platy, Cloud, Takoida, Loner, Saldir, Volcanto, XM. What's up, everyone? Good morning, and thank you very, very much, Saldir, for the sub. Much appreciated as always, sir. Exactly, Takoida. Now, I assume you want to put that towards Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I don't like assuming. So instead I'm going to ask you. What would you like to put that towards, Saldir? Now, what else we got for random news this morning? Hello, Kira White Noise. GTA, G2A, continues to weasel around how horribly disgusting they are. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lore, isn't that a bit much? That is literally what I have written down in my notes, word for word. G2A can go to hell. Loot Crate died officially. We've been seeing this coming for a while. This is not a surprise, but it's a pity. I was actually thinking to myself... how Loot Crate is... Oh, nothing new, Venters. They're still off clubbing baby seals. Loot Crate was actually kind of a neat idea, in my opinion. Imagine if you took all of the excitement of opening a random loot box and took away all of the garbage associated with loot boxes, and you kind of got Loot Crate, or at least the idea of Loot Crate. I don't know if that's actually true. I never got it myself. There are still plenty of other Loot Crate type things that are still going. In fact, I know one which is candy that's imported from Japan that you can get, which is kind of a neat idea. Because the idea, and again, I do actually like this idea, is you just get a random box of goodies. I mean, think about it for a second. It's unlike a true loot box, it's always stuff you're going to like because it's categorized, right? Like, if you get the bacon loot box, that's a real thing, by the way. If you get the bacon loot crate every month, you're going to get different types of bacon. And you get to branch out and try new things, and you're probably not going to like everything in there, but you get a variety of bacon. Because you like bacon. There's one for chocolate, there's one for Japanese candy, like I mentioned, there's one for cheeses. You get the idea. Now, most of these are food, but you do get the concept. And I think that's a cool concept, personally. So it is a damn shame, I think, that Loot Crate is dying. Funnily enough, the company that currently owns Loot Crate, which is the same company behind Blue Apron, if you've heard of them, is doing just fine. Saldir, the only game... Oh, yes, I can actually check that. Hang on just a second, Saldir. Give me a moment. Guys, we have to pause the stream for Saldir. I told you he was evil. This is why this is so controversial. And yeah, that's another good point. Like I said, taking away all the negative aspects of loot boxing. So instead of buying, like, tons and tons of loot boxes and constantly being psychologically manipulated to buy more, it's a subscription service. You get a box every month. The end. Like, that's it. Anyway, so Saldir. So we've got one for Cyberpunk. You've put money into Jade Empire. You've put money into Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And that's it. At least of current stuff. So Cyberpunk, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Mike Romano. Now, that being said, I can kind of see why Loot Crate of all of them would be the one to go out, because Loot Crate is the least targeted, and I want you to remember that, because that's going to be important for our discussion later. But Loot Crate's just a bunch of random stuff, right? As opposed to a bunch of bacon or a bunch of cheese or whatever. You know, it's less categorized. And it is my personal opinion that that's the main reason why Loot Crate specifically is dying. Thank you very, very much, Mike Romano. Ever and always appreciate the sub. Thank you. If you happen to know where you want to put that, then I won't stab you. It'll be awesome. Actually, again, I don't stab people. They stab people. I'm the Lich King. I don't do the stabbing. The lore box. It's a box that just has several slips of paper in it, but each slip of paper has a chunk of lore. So let's see. Sanadier, Last of Us 2, Depression Simulator. Do we even have a release date for that yet? You got it, Mike Romano. Mike Romano. I can spell Romano. Oblivion. Which photocopies of me. Anyways. Where's my notes? Now that we're done pausing the stream. Here we go. Okay, so what else we got? Loot Crate's dead. Forza Motorsport 6 is being removed from digital sales. This is getting to be more and more of a trend, isn't it? Where digitally released games are just leaving the digital markets bit by bit. This isn't even the first or fifth or 50th time we've seen this happen. And it's becoming a lot more common. And it's getting a little bit worrisome. It's getting a lot worrisome. By the way, I decided to write this down. Forza Motorsport 6 came out 4 years ago. It's not an old game. 4 years. YouTube is supposedly, let me rephrase that, is allegedly implementing a policy to prevent copyright owners, this is a direct quote here, prevent copyright owners from making money on manual claims for short song clips, example, a very brief, like 5 seconds of the song, unintentional audio, such as from passing cars, and claimants can still block monetization on the video itself, but timestamps will help you edit the claim. So, this is what we like to call a baby step. Because that's nice. That is better than it currently is. Barely. It's good. You know, I don't want to sound complainy, but yeah, I do feel like a little bit of Arm Devil is necessary here. If we don't have Arm Devil, then we don't actually have the proper context for what we're talking about. Now, if we do have an Arm Devil, then we're apparently in a Devil May Cry game, which is actually kind of awesome as long as we're not a normal human. Because if we're a normal human in a Devil May Cry game, then we're like 5 red orbs and that's it. And that's... I mean, that's not reaching for the stars, if you know what I mean. Thank you very much, NLG Arm Devil. Much appreciate the sub, especially for a full year. Welcome to the 1-year club, sir. You didn't tell me what you want to put the sub towards, though. So I'm afraid we're going to have to pull my devil trigger. Sorry. And hello to Zara for joining us. Thank you for being here. So, speaking of which, speaking of things that are in the alleged category, this is kind of strange. So, Nintendo of America, specifically, I want to stress this, Nintendo of America is NLG RFF. Okay, so noted. Yeah, that's true. To go ahead. Just need to go to a major city. So there's a new Switch coming out. And this is news. It's not rumor. It's not anything. It's not actually a big deal. All it does is increase the battery life. We don't actually know how. This is one of the weirdest bits of news I've ever reported on, because Nintendo themselves didn't make a big deal about this at all. They barely announced it. It's just kind of, oh yeah, there's this new Switch you can buy. What's different about it? Well, it's got better battery life. Why? Now, there are actual rumors that the main reason the battery life is increased is because the actual processor is basically better and more efficient in how it uses its juice. Apparently, Cloud of the Stars says they say how it increases battery life. I haven't seen that, so I'm going to have to take his word on it. And we know Cloud of the Stars is a massive liar. I mean, the other day, he was like, you know, I'm secretly Elvis. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually misread your statement there, Cloud of the Stars. Never mind. Okay, Cloud of the Stars has ceased being a liar. Thank you very much, Mr. Botland. Much appreciate and support, as always, those subs. Thank you, sir. Although, yet again, that's 3 in a row, people not telling me where they want to put their subs towards. Come on, guys. I ask you this every time. Stab! Alright, so... Anyway, so apparently... No, he didn't. I don't see a message from Mr. Botland. I'm like the fourth time rereading my chat here. Is it on the stream? It's scrolled off at this point, so I can't tell here. Well, I'd take your word on it that he put it towards Jade Empire. That is so weird. I guess Twitch ate it. God, what the hell? This is not the first time we've had weird Twitch issues lately. I apologize, Mr. Botland. Jade Empire. Also, lol, Alex. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, the new Switch. So apparently, we don't know how it's increasing the battery life, and we don't know anything about it, but it's out. Now this is actually, sorry, that's not just the news. The other news part, this is again in the realm of the alleged, but if you bought any Switch units, regular Switch units, after July 17th, it's a little over a month ago, they will actually upgrade that to the new model for free. Now, I have to keep adding the word alleged to that because I haven't actually seen anything confirming that. But if that's true, that's actually kind of cool. Now, when I first read that, I'll completely admit I misread that when I first read that and thought it was actually saying that you can just turn in a Switch for a Switch 2 or whatever. But it's only the more recent ones. But that is actually pretty neat, if that is true. Because the whole point is, oh man, I just bought a Switch and now there's a new one? We got you. I wish it was a little bit earlier than July, but whatever. What else? Is that it for random news? I'll double check something here. Because if it's it for random, yeah, it looks like... Oh no, there's one more thing. One more thing for random news, sorry. Bioware. Hang on, let's change playlists. Give me a second. No. Let's go with, like, something even worse. Something more horrifying than this. There we go. So this is funny. Ben Irving bowed out. I don't remember when. And it was such a non-issue. It was such a non-news item. I didn't even write it down. This morning, I was double-checking the news, because I always do one final news check before I get set up for Loreweek. And I noticed that a director had left Bioware. And I was like, wow, why are they still reporting on that? It's a different one. Fernando Mello just left Bioware, like yesterday. 2 directors, or whatever their proper title is, 2 not small-scale people working at Bioware bailed within the same week. Anyways, moving on. I think I just lost Twitch chat or something. Yeah, if you get news, like, within a week that Bioware is actually being shut down, finally, let's just say I'm not going to be super surprised. Oh, I should clarify, Fernando Mello was working on Dragon Age 4, whereas Ben Irving was working on Anthem. So, clarification's sake. This is a depressing song. We don't want to play depressing songs. It might actually be a coincidence. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's the point. All I know is that these 2 people bailed, and they were not small people. This is not random graphics editor 37. The most successful company that EA killed? Probably Bioware, in total honesty. Like, if we're talking about in terms of popular exposure and financial success, I'll let you guess, Little Billy. I don't even have to look. I know exactly which one this one is from. Dragon Age Andromeda. It's a whole new galaxy that looks exactly the same as the last one. Close, Little Billy. Wait, is... Hang on, let me double check. No, I'm right. This is 4. God. Let's say, I know that sound font, but you made me question myself. Alright, guys, here's a question for you. How many of you like ads? You know, can I share a quick anecdote? 2, actually, anecdotes. No, I mean adverts, just advertisements, Saldir. It's a pretty big category if you think about it, really. Again, I do want to share 2 little anecdotes for you. Anecdote number 1. Back in the day, Mom, with my input, invested a substantial amount of money into this brand new technology. It was this big deal. It was called a VCR. Now, this was this brand new thing that allowed you to actually put in blank cassette tapes and actually record stuff like yourself and make your own VHS tapes. It was insane. Now, I'm saying this kind of jokingly, but back when we got this, which would have been late 80s at this point, they were kind of rare and exceptionally expensive. So, now you might think, why'd you get those? There were 2 reasons we got them. One is the most obvious, to record the shows we liked, so we could rewatch them whenever we wanted to. Which I know sounds like such a mundane thing now. That's so mundane, being able to watch a show when you want to. But put yourself in the shoes of someone who lived in the 80s and 90s. If you wanted to watch a show, you were there at a specific time. The show dictated when you watched it. And if it wasn't the episode you wanted to watch, sucks to be you. Right? I'm sure at least a few of you remember those days. So our big push for this, the big reason we said this, I'm not even going before that because I didn't really have a lot of television exposure before I was born. At least not this time loop through. But yeah, being able to actually watch Star Trek, which was a big one for both of us, and a few other shows that she was interested in, whenever we wanted to, was just, that was a huge deal. And it kind of changed the way we actually structured our lives, because most of the time we would have to miss the actual TNG when it came out live because she was working or whatever, or it was too late in the day, or the local station had dropped it because we didn't, we had major television studios. Most of them, it didn't work the way it does now. It's not like it was Netflix. Instead, it was closer to say that the local studio would receive a signal and film from such and such of an actual network, and they would put whatever the hell they want to on their station, that kind of a thing. So even actually having access to, CBS or whatever didn't really mean we'd actually get to watch it, or watch it live, or watch it new. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. There was one other reason we got a VHS, and that was or a VCR, excuse me, and that was to cut out the ads. Because what we do, and this is all very manual, you have to, imagine for a moment, this is the TV, and so here's the VCR, and we'd hit the record. I could physically remember it. I could do it blind because I could remember the buttons. So the far right button was the record button, and the second to left button was the stop button. So I hit record, the episode, because you always can tell when an ad break is stopping. It's pretty obvious. And then it would come in, Captain's log, start date, blah, 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 blah. And then it would cut, so then hit stop, then hit record again, and then hit stop, and then hit record again to manually get rid of all of the ads from a thing. So when we rewatched those, we could just rewatch the show. Yeah, because remotes for VCRs didn't exist until sometime later, exactly. That is how much effort we were willing to put into removing ads from a show we both loved and spent a lot of money to watch on our own time back in the late 80s. You are absolutely correct, Chocolate Rob. I didn't figure that out for like a year. Actually, Lore Mom has those tapes, Baron. I have the Blu-rays for the Ruminations. Yeah, it's true. It also saved space, because you can only fit, like, I think 3 episodes per cassette, something like that. Anywho. So ads suck, right? I think most people can at least get on board that general concept. Now, what I find very strange about that is despite the fact that an inordinate number of people that I know personally all think of ads as something that suck, to be ignored or to be avoided, you know, ad blocker or clicking skip ad on YouTube, or there was actually a thing they invented, I guess this would have been late 90s at this point, which automatically deleted ads from recorded stuff. DVR or something like that. I actually remember I was bowed out of TV by about the aughts. But you get so much effort and time and work spent by so many people removing ads, and yet, for some strange reason, the advert is still the baseline currency of a lot of industries. I don't know how to better put that. Like, there are so huge of an amount of people which will judge and decide something based on how many ads it gets, how many ads... how much time an ad is seen, how many eyeballs it hits, and how many, and I don't remember the term, but it's like how many invested eyeballs is what I'm going to call it. Like, that is just a huge thing. Now, what are you going to replace it with? I mean, I have my own theories on that. Now, obviously, advertising is successful to some extent or another. That is a proven psychological fact. But I do think this is way past the realm of ridiculous. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Viacom and CBS, actually. Here, man, I swear this is all connected. So, CBS, for those of you not aware, CBS and Viacom have remerged, or I guess to be slightly more accurate, are in the process of remerging. Now, for a brief bit of history, for those of you not aware, CBS used to own Viacom, or what Viacom was. And back in the 70s, I forget the exact year, the FCC ruled that they couldn't do that they were getting too big and they needed to split up. So CBS chopped up a chunk of itself and moved it outside of itself and called that new entity Viacom, which continued forward as a separate company, which happened to be owned and run by the same family. Anyways... So, Viacom then continued to do its own thing and grow, and it got to the point where sometime in the 80s, I forget when, again, I didn't write down all the dates, they decided, the FCC loosened its rules, and they're like, let's remerge. Okay, that didn't work out. That didn't even go to paper. It was just, yeah, sputter, die. Then the FCC completely removed those particular antitrust rules, and they're like, aha, now we can remerge again. This would have been 1999. I remember this one, because this was actually kind of a big deal. The problem was, in the intervening 20 years, Viacom had actually grown as a company rather substantially. So the 1999 merger happened, and then self-destructed almost immediately. Within a couple of years, the merger fell apart again, and Viacom and CBS split up again. There was also an attempt for CBS and Viacom to remerge in 2006. So, CBS and Viacom are in the process of remerging again. Now, as I mentioned, this is almost funny to me, because again, it's the same damn family that's been running both companies since the 70s. But regardless of that, you might think, why? I mean, CBS is actually doing reasonably well right now, strangely enough. And with CBS All Access being a direct competitor to the big three, which I'll talk about later, Okay, what's the point? Why's the thing? Well, see, here's the thing. I don't know how many of you even really know anything about Viacom at this point, so I'm going to do, just for the hell of it, I'm just going to do a quick quiz. What do you think of when you think of Viacom right now? Yes, Alex, that is correct. At least I think it is. I shouldn't actually verify that. Vindictive. I like it. VHS tapes, yeah. Nickelodeon, that's right. They do own Comedy Central and Nickelodeon right now. Funnily enough, neither of those channels are doing particularly well. Viacom itself also owns quite a bit of cable. Showtime is one of the big ones there. And I mean like traditional cable, television cable. Now, this is actually funny to me. This is one of the reasons I brought up the advert thing. There are multiple reasons I brought up the advert thing. Viacom's about 60%. Hang on, I actually think I have the figure right here. No, it's not there. I must have had it on my phone. Whatever. I'm pretty sure it was 60%. I was just reading this morning. About 60% of Viacom's income comes from cable. Not satellite, not digital distribution, cable. Now, this is actually amusing. Oh, here we go. This is actually amusing to me because cable is just kind of, what's the nicest way to put this? Dying. I think that's the simplest and easiest way to explain what's been going on with cable for years at this point, honestly. There's a concept called cable cutting, and this is one of the bigger elements of what cable cutting involves. 60% of their income, their gross income. So you might be thinking, okay, so this then explains why Viacom wants to get into CBS, because CBS is basically full on board the digital distribution train. Why does CBS care about Viacom? Well, Viacom has been pushing into a whole thing. Is it going to give me the whole list? Isn't it? Look at this. You ever heard of Vantage? I would not be surprised if nobody has heard of Vantage. Vantage is an advert company. I'm telling you, this is all connected. So Vantage does targeting ads, specifically based on non-Nielsen demographics, which is important, because anybody who has a brain knows that the Nielsen demographics are out of date and stupid at this point in history. They also have something called, they've invented a process called dynamic ad insertion, and they have national ad feeds for anyone who is on Charter or Comcast, or who uses Sling or DirecTV. All of that, all of those ads are designed, planned, and mapped out by Vantage. By the way, Viacom also recently bought Awesomeness TV, Who Say, and Pluto TV, which I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of as well, but they are also digital things. Now, this is, by all accounts, and every interview has been agreeing with this, this is the reason CBS decided to try and pick up Viacom again. Because let's be clear, this is CBS buying Viacom. It is technically a merger because that's cheaper to do on paper, but this is CBS eating Viacom. Let's just be clear about that. Anyways, that's why. Because CBS wants to use all of those different techniques, companies, and technologies that Viacom has developed to do targeted marketing. Ads specifically designed to appeal to you and to your interests. So, this, obviously, this all sounds dystopian. Like, I see several people in chat being like, oh my god, this is horrible. This is why I felt like this was an interesting topic, because I'm not just here to read you doom and gloom. What I find really strange about all this is that there's a... How do I phrase this without making everyone hate me? So obviously ads suck, right?
Your dedication will be rewarded.
To be continued as soon as I figure out what that donation was. It's from Vigilant. It will not be the original Vigilant. Absolutely not. No, 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 no. In fact, I can tell you specifically which version that is. It's the one that's coming out on Steam that isn't out yet, that we don't even have a release date for. I forget what it's called, like Master Chief Collection or something like that. Anyways. So. The very concept... Let's get philosophical for a minute, if you guys don't mind. Let me get this blinding thing out of my face. The very philosophical concept of an advert actually makes a lot of sense. No, really. I want you to do me a favor and think of, like... Let's say you play on... You play on? Every now and again I read something and say something at the same time, so my words get screwed up. So I was reading what Baron said about playing, and then I... Anyways. Every now and again, let's assume you exist in Star Trek. There we go. You're now in Star Trek, and you're on Earth, and you can do whatever the hell you want to. And let's say you're Platty, and you decide to make a bakery that makes cakes. Okay. How do people know you make cakes? How do people become aware of you? Now, there are methods of marketing that do not involve advertising. But you could probably see at an extremely fundamental and basic level why advertising is, at least theoretically, a good thing. Now, I point this out because of my very first question, which I started this whole thing was how many of you like adverts? And the response was overwhelmingly no. Including from me, actually. Joseph Sisko has two things going for him, actually, Mike Romano. He has a connection to Starfleet, because a lot of Starfleet personnel come there, and he has word of mouth, because Starfleet will talk about it. Which isn't advertising in the term of being an advert. However, that is marketing in the terms of its advertising. Point being, you can get the idea behind an advert. Now, adverts, like almost everything else in the world, were ruined by greedy people who are stupid and dumb. Because I'm going to share a second anecdote with you. If you remember, I had two, right? One was the VHS thing. The other is, every now and again, I go and check my mail, my local mail, my USPS mail. I say every now and again because I usually get like one or two things in that a month. Or at least one or two real pieces of mail, as I like to think of it. But I do have to go clean it out every now and again, because I'll go there and it will be filled to the brim with spam. Coupons and you know, it's this, and you could be winner, and you need to open this right away, and just you're approved. Yeah, the immediate recyclables. Now that's not quite the anecdote. The anecdote is this is so commonplace that we have a bin right next to the mailboxes. This is also the second apartment complex I have lived at where there is a bin placed at the mailboxes to throw away, or to recycle in this case. Just, that's normal. That's mundane. That's everyday. That we have to have a separate trash can right there just for all the junk adverts. Now, I agree that Sinister Wing's point is that ads are specifically designed to trick or anchor people into buying things. Like I said, greedy and stupid people ruining things. Welcome to real life, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a colossal waste. And I don't think I've ever heard of anybody ever actually giving a crap, which makes the other side of it. Like I said, we use so much time and effort to avoid ads, and they use so much time and effort to do ads. I legitimately wonder if I had Q levels of power, so I could determine things that, aren't really feasible to determine in real life. It would be very curious to see how much waste there is in the advertising industry. How much money and how many raw materials and paper and trees and fuel and whatever else are just being burnt on stuff that doesn't, and specifically, because this is why you need Q powers, specifically see the adverts that aren't accomplishing anything, that are just trash. Either fast forward or throw away. Now, it's worth noting that companies are, in fact, at least partially nice sound here, are at least partially aware of this problem. This brings up targeted ads. Now, you, of course, know what a targeted ad is because you've interacted with Google at some point in your life, and that is Google's shtick. Google didn't necessarily invent targeted ads, but they are certainly the codifier of targeted ads, at least when it comes to online stuff. There is an inordinate amount of stuff that you can do. Yes, little Billy. You're getting good at this. There's an inordinate amount of stuff that you do that Google likes to pay attention to and then pushes out as targeted ads. So you search for something on Amazon or through Google or whatever, and later on you'll see an ad for something that either is the thing you're looking for or something that's similarly tagged. Now, there's a whole lot of layers when it comes to targeted marketing. Because in some cases, it just tracks the same general category. You looked up a book about, I don't know, Star Trek. Ergo, you're interested in book and Star Trek. Or maybe it could be even more broad than that, book and sci-fi. So here's all these things. Holy crap. And look at this. There's this new sci-fi book that's coming out you could do. I don't actually know, Harriant, so I can't speak to that. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. Because I know with total certainty that Google targeted ads will go off of Amazon searches. There's also, of course, some targeting ads that get far more specific. This is something that's really only started happening within the last few years. Which, of course, brings me to Viacom, who has invented new technologies and new policies specifically to make even more targeted ads. To use the example I mentioned earlier, Star Trek books. In this case, what their stuff is supposed to do, and this is kind of how this works, is they will see you searched for a Star Trek book, and they'll see, okay, so they will show you specifically Star Trek books that are not that book, and they will also show you other books by that author, if he happens to have made, or she happens to have made any other books. And then it'll also show you other Star Trek results, which are lower priority than that. Specifically trying to get into the specific thing you were looking for. Now, that's one layer of this. The other layer, and this is how this affects CBS, is they use a lot... So, one of the things that I am, and you're going to make fun of me for this, that I am actually in favor of, is digital distribution. Digital distribution has better capacity for feedback than television has ever had. I've said before, and I've said it again, Nielsen ratings were basically a compromise. It's an inaccurate way to get inaccurate results on what people are watching. But it was all they got, right? How do you tell what television people are watching? For many, many years, decades even, there was no way to really track that. Well, now they can. If you pull up Hulu, or YouTube, or anything on your computer, they will be able to see what you watched, how long you watched it, and I guess that's actually the two big ones. They can tell a lot of other information too. But they can see what you watched and how many minutes specifically of it you watched, and that is very important information. Oh yeah, what else you also watch? I know there's something else related there. Now I bring all that up because that means they have actual feedback, actual data. They can literally tell what is successful and what is not. As opposed to the old days where that doesn't really work that way. By the way, Nielsen ratings are still a thing, although I'm not sure if they have any impact on the industry anymore. They have been desperately trying to be relevant, and they're not. Anyways. So with this new format, they can be like, aha, you watched all of this and all of this. This brings us full circle with targeted marketing. Because now, they can tell not only what kind of shows you watch, so they can then try to say, aha, you should be interested in such and such, but they can also try to push shows. I've talked about that concept before. Netflix does that all the time. They can also try to show ads that they feel that someone has told them are of the demographic that people who watch that show are. So thank you. Now, someone asked how accurate this is. Well, let's see. So, let's see here. I'm just seeing if a single one of these things is something I'm interested in. Nope. Very, very true, Takoida. So, okay. Having said all of this crap, you could probably see why it is I say that this is an interesting topic and something worth debating. Because targeted marketing and targeted adverts are not necessarily a bad thing. However, that being stated, I know many people, including several personally, who are very anti-targeted marketing for one reason only: invasion of privacy. I actually know a few people who go through extensive hoops to make sure, and this is a possibility, that when they are browsing or when they are watching, nothing is tracking what they're doing. That is something you can do. It takes work, and it takes knowing what you're doing, but you can do that. And they do that purely because they don't want their privacy to be invaded, which is understandable. So that's the most obvious and clear example of why this would be a negative thing. The other most obvious example is that greed tends to ruin things. Now, Baron has asked twice, actually. At what point is greed going to ruin this, or how are they going to ruin this with greed? I have no idea. I know this is going to sound strange, but I can't think greed. Like that, my mind doesn't go in that direction. I am not an exploiter. So I don't actually know how people are going to exploit this system yet. So, yeah, selling data is, God, that's actually old hat at this point, which is just kind of sad. A little bonus thing, by the way. So, I mentioned the big three earlier. The big three are Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Apple TV something. I wrote it down. Hang on, what's it called? Apple TV Plus. That's what it's called. Now, if you don't know what I mean by the big three, all three of those are digital distribution services for shows, for television. New TV stations online that are not out yet or are in the process of being rolled out as we speak. And they are the ones that everyone in the financial world has been watching as the big three to take a large chunk of the digital distribution share. Keeping in mind we already have, Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, and I don't actually know what else. So those are the big three that everyone's watching, that those are the ones that are going to do. So CBS All Access, which has already launched, has such a minuscule market share that people are looking at it like they're not even a competitor, right? They're not even on the same page as the big three, except because of the specific fact that CBS is now acquiring Viacom and plans to roll out their multiple targeted marketing things through CBS All Access. That would mean that CBS All Access has the capacity, at least on paper, for investors and for financial firms who are looking into this kind of thing, to be able to sell their adverts more successfully. Now, this is actually, I referenced this briefly earlier, because Cord wants to sell an advert. Now, he wants to sell to advertising companies adverts on his show, okay? Now, he can sell that based on multiple figures. The most obvious one is eyeballs. How many people are going to see the ad? But another figure, and this is something that's been coming in more and more within the last 15 years, is invested eyeballs. Now, that's not the proper term. That's what I call it. But invested eyeballs is targeted ads. In other words, you can say 5 million people will see this ad. But if you could say 500,000 people will see this ad who are part of the target demographic, then that is more valuable, and they can now sell it to you for more. Because the advertiser's like, oh my god, that's going to be so much more valuable to us. So, CBS's big leg up, the thing that they're going to have over the other things, is they're going to have Viacom's targeted marketing, which is going to enable them to make more money through the ads that they sell to other companies in order to encourage them to do targeted adverts on CBS All Access. Thank you very much, Cord. Even though you're trying to sell me ads, I do appreciate the sub very much. Thank you. I'm glad you liked the recipe. I've been experimenting with it ever since. I've yet to come up with anything as good as the original apple. Oh, that's KOTOR 1. There we go. Well, that's kind of a separate topic, Bragwin. Probably not, Harriant, in all honesty. I imagine they will keep the ad-free subscription option for the same reason Hulu does. You'll notice it's like twice the price to get the ad-free option. Yeah. They make their money there one way or the other. Oh, I actually think Disney Plus will break into the big three. Which, by the way, the actual big three, as in current digital distributors, are Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, for anybody curious. At least here in the States. I have no idea what that's like in the rest of the world. Although I know Netflix is big in Europe. Yeah, you pay for ads or you pay for ads, one way or the other. I mean, that's just life. The Disney minus is it's the subversive channel, where they show things like Song of the South. Oh yeah, I have that problem too, Halo. Some sites actually require a subscription to view whether you have adblock on or not, too. That's becoming a thing. No, Mukul, I am messing with you. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Anyways, that's actually all I had to talk about here. I just find this to be a fascinating topic because I actually like the idea of targeted adverts. I really do. On paper and in concept, it makes a lot of sense. I have such and such that I want to sell. I want people who are cognizant of who care about such and such to get information on it. Right? Now it's also worth noting that's not 100%. There's the stagnant market concept. So to explain that a little bit, and this is something that comes into Kickstarter, the stagnant market concept is the idea that, let's say you like, I don't know, give me something that you like. Help me out here because my brain's gone. Air. Okay. We're apparently in Spaceballs. Give me something else. Chocolate. There. Okay. So let's say Bragwin likes chocolate. And we all like chocolate. Chocolate. So the stagnant marketing concept is when, because you are known, your marketing data for you or your viewership or your home or whatever is targeting towards chocolate. So all of the chocolate ads go to you. Now, this is cool because you like chocolate and now you get to experience all these types of chocolate, but nothing other than chocolate. And you can probably already see why this is called the stagnant market concept. Because the idea is that it gets more and more insular and more contained so that the only things that you're interacting with are chocolate related. When it comes to your sweets, let's at least limit it on that sake. So people won't try to reach out to you and say, you want to try this other thing that you might like, or this other concept that you might like, because, well, there's nothing in the data shows that she has any interest in that. It just shows that she has interest in chocolate. If I have to explain, by the way, this is, like I said, this has been a pretty big problem with Kickstarter, because most people who go to Kickstarter a game are doing so because that game is a proven concept. That game is something that you know you like, not something you might like you have not yet interacted with. And you can kind of see what the issues there, right? Absolutely, G-Gamer. Zero hesitation. So, this is the ignoring greed, ignoring evil, stupid executives who are dumb and need to have a smack upside the head. That is, in my opinion, the biggest problem with targeted marketing. Because targeted marketing is, by definition, something that will encourage a stagnant market. And eventually, and in case you don't understand the problem here, eventually Bragan will stop buying chocolate. But because her data is still centered around chocolate, they'll keep sending her chocolate ads, and eventually she's going to get sick of it. And they have basically lost a customer without gaining a new customer, because it's not like anyone else is being pulled into it, right? Anyways. Ugh. That's all I got. I just... this whole thing. My goodness. I do find CBS All Access... I do find CBS All Access funny, because I have approximately 1% interest in it. I will probably resub for a month, sometime next year, after, you know, the Picard show is done, you know, binge, and then immediately unsub, because I just have absolutely no interest in CBS All Access. Disney Plus I'll probably hold on to. That'll be actually pretty valuable, both for the show and for myself. But CBS All Access doesn't have anything. I mean, this is the console wars thing all over again, just in a different format. I don't care how good the X-Bone is. There's nothing on it I want to play. Oh, God. I am amazed they haven't done that yet, Dakota. Anyways, that's all I got.